Time for the only radio show of its kind. Auctioneers of antiques, collectors of cool, veterans of vintage. It's the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560, The Answer. For the next hour, enjoy great information about buying and selling antiques and collectibles, and some interesting stories. Now, the Donley Auctions Hour.
Welcome to the Donley Auctions Hour. Thank you for joining us here on AM 560 every Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'm Susan. I'm here with Randy Donley, and we are the owners of Donley Auctions in Union, Illinois, just 60 miles west of Chicago. You should come out and visit us. It's never a dull moment out in Union, Illinois. We're here today to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles, and maybe motorcycles.
There you go.
So usually what we talk about, Randy, is what's been going on this week. And, you know, it's already a whole week has gone by, and I can't remember what we did yesterday.
Wow,
There's been so much stuff. But I was gone. I was in Nashville at my dad's celebration of life and learned so much about my relatives. And one of my uncles is the surviving member of the invasion on Normandy. Well, which I didn't even know that.
You know, that's so interesting that all these years you did not know that.
Did not know that.
And that's really what we do is history,
right.
And so much family history. Mm-hmm. And so many times, Susan, families are, you know, they're passing the history on because either there's nobody left in the family to hang on to it, or how do you display a lot of this stuff? I mean, right. Just the other day, a Japanese flag came in. World War II Japanese flag. And the gentleman says, you know, my dad captured this at a battle in World War II. And he said, how do I hang this in my house? What do I do? I've got it folded up in a drawer all these years. And he said, I'd really rather pass it on to somebody who can display it and appreciate it for the historic significance that it has.
Well, I know the first thing you asked me was, well, did you ask her if she still has his uniform?
That I did.
Of course I did. Of course I asked her that. She says, no, we don't have the uniform anymore, but I do have his Purple Heart. So I'm glad that is still in the family because I did not know that.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happening this week at Donley Auctions. We just wrapped up the camera auction in Arlington Heights. They're still packing all that stuff. There was so much. Every single item sold.
And so
hundreds
much of
and
it.
hundreds of it.
So much of it went overseas.
Yeah.
But optics, anything in optics generally does have a big market in Korea and China and across the
hugely successful
Asia.
Auction. Did way better than we had thought, which was good. Mm-hmm. And so I want to put just a little shout out to our shipping department, who has been working very hard to get those items shipped out to everybody. So now this week, we're working on the September firearms and military auction, which is September. It's today.
It's today.
Today's September 23rd. Mm-hmm. September 23rd, firearms, ammunition, gun accessories. Still, it's not too late to come on out to Union because we have over 800 lots. We're going to be there till, 8 o'clock,
We're here
9
late
o'clock tonight.
Yeah, and then all day tomorrow we've got military relics,
yes.
Which is
some fantastic military relics, daggers, helmets, uniforms.
Yeah,
the German motorcycle.
And an interesting scenario. I have just heard that the state of Illinois is proposing a ban on military helmets. So if you are a collector of military relics and don't want to see that happen, get a hold of your congressman and
that's ridiculous.
Let them know that military collecting is it's quite a hobby. And helmets, of course, is something
historic.
That really does not need to be banned. Nobody's using World War II helmets in crimes today, but that's up to you.
They're mostly talking about body armor and things like that, but they're throwing military helmets as part of it.
Exactly, and that will definitely affect the hobby. So
right. So the military auction and firearms this weekend.
All day tomorrow. Yeah.
500 firearms. So still, even though it's 1 o'clock today, there's still many more to go. You can come on out to Union. Check our website at donleyauctions.com. You can give us a call at 815-923-7000. if you want to throw some absentee bids in right away, or if you want to do a phone bid, give us a call.
Yeah. Or just get online now at DonleyAuctions.com.
You don't have to get dressed. You don't have to leave. Just get online at DonleyAuctions.com. We have our own. No.
There's a visual for you, Susan. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's right. But the doors open at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for the military auction. Auction starts at 10. Mm-hmm. Call us with any questions.
And in the meantime, merchandise just keeps rolling in, so thank you for that. The guys are out right now picking up a 1936 Chevy, totally restored. It's always fun to find these things still hanging around. I mean, this has been restored probably 40 years ago, and it's been in somebody's
36
garage.
36 Chevy. What kind of car is it?
A 36 Chevy. It's a two-door sedan.
Okay, two-door sedan. Thank you. I need the visual on that.
2 doors always do better than 4 doors. And coupes and converts are always the best. But this is a 2-door sedan. It'll really do well. Even though it's a little later than the Bonnie and Clyde era, it still has that look.
Oh, nice. And that's going to be in our November Fall Classic auction. So, again, not too early to consign automobiles.
Well, you said at the beginning of the show, we're going to be talking about planes, trains, and automobiles. And yes, we're always looking for cars.
I was looking for planes too.
Well,
I'd love to have an airplane. Who's got an
something
airplane?
that I wanted to talk about today. Just last night, what was the movie I was watching?
Something with Robert Redford.
Yeah.
What was that?
The great Waldo Pepper.
Yeah, he was flying a biplane.
Barnstorming. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we're always looking for biplanes. Years ago, I mean, we were big on eBay in the early years of eBay when people didn't even know how to navigate the system, so to speak. And I got a phone call from a gentleman who told me he worked for the Goodwill Company. And they in fact were looking for somebody at that point in time to run their eBay department for them, because just that day, he told me that somebody had donated a biplane to Goodwill.
Wow.
And they couldn't put it in one of their stores, and they needed a way to sell it. So interesting that people, were actually donating airplanes to organizations like Goodwill. But
we should auction them off, though. So
we need to auction your aircraft. I mean, we can do that, and so whether it's a biplane or any type of plane and accessories. I mean, there's so many people out in the Chicago area that work around the airports and work for the airlines. They are all collectors of some kind. Mm-hmm. Props do really well by us. And advertising posters and just anything related to the airline industry.
Aviation collections, yeah.
But we're always looking for full aircraft.
That's right. So that was the airplane section of our radio show today, planes, trains, and automobiles. But I also want to add motorcycles to that. So we're going to talk to Mike in our next segment about motorcycles,
Mike Donley,
correct?
my brother.
We're going to talk about motorcycles. But back to planes. Any update on the aviation auction?
Oh, my gosh. The aviation auction is really coming along so well. We've got the complete collection from Parker Kramer, who had license number 4. We've talked about this before on the air. One of the early aviators, and he was a polar explorer. I mean, he crashed multiple airplanes, and in fact, in 1931, lost his life in a plane crash in the ocean. They found the wreckage, and of course, unfortunately, he was not part of it. But so we still have his license that was recovered from the plane crash that was actually found in the water. We've got his original license number 4 from the time, and all of his navigational charts and maps and photo albums and everything. What a grouping. So we're adding to that all the time. It's my understanding right in the Chicago area here, a gentleman called us with a Curtiss aircraft engine, an old radial engine out of a Curtis airplane, and so there's a lot of good stuff out there. But ladies and gentlemen, you need to call us. You need to let us know what you have.
That's right.
We can't sell it if you don't call us.
That's right. Call us at 815-923-7000. Better yet, email us at consign, CONSIGN, at DonleyAuctions.com. We need to know where the items are located. What do you have? Any provenance? Tell us what you have, because we would like to tell you if there's any value in it and how much meat is on the bone, and if we can put it up for auction for you. We're looking for some great items for our November Fall Classic. That is the third week in November, right before Thanksgiving. So we're going to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles. Trains coming up next. Motorcycles coming up next with Mike Donley. And, of course, my favorite subject are cars. I want to touch base on that a little bit more, too. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Donley Auctions Hour right here every Saturday on AM 560. The Answer. Mike Donley coming up next.
They've been called auctioneers of antiques, collectors of cool, even veterans of vintage. And they can introduce themselves. Thanks for listening. This is the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to the Donley Auctions Hour. I'm Susan. I'm co-owner of Donley Auctions, here with Randy Donley. And on this week's show, we're talking about planes, trains, and automobiles, and motorcycles.
And we've got Mike Donley with us, too.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
How's it going today, everyone?
Busy as always.
Yeah, everything is good. But Susan wanted us to talk about motorcycles today. So the whole question is, what are we going to talk about with bikes today, Mike? You and I were both bikers, so to speak, when we were teenagers, and we kind of had a different style of bikes. And you were just talking to me the other day about how collectible the Hondas and Yamahas, Suzuki's, Kawasaki's, these bikes were, and you called it the Japanese invasion. What?
Yeah, that's true. You and I were on opposite ends of the bikes. You were a Harley guy and the bigger classic bikes, and I always enjoyed the Japanese motorcycles. And you got to think back to like the 60s and 70s. Okay, you had the baby boomers just coming of age, started driving and riding and stuff like that. We're all going off to college and everything. And we were looking for cheap transportation and stylish transportation. Along come, the Japanese motorcycle market was in its infancy, really. They were just, not that long after World War II in the 60s. You figure it's only 20 years after the war. And they're rebuilding their industries. So they had motorcycles over there, and they test them in the United States market, and boom, they take off. Because in the 60s, the image of motorcycles, 50s and 60s, was the Harley riders, the Hells Angels, and such like that. Well, none of the college people or any or young generation really wanted to be associated with that, but they were looking for, that type of transportation. So along comes the Japanese motorcycles and just blindsides the American industry and the English industry too. And these motorcycles just took off like crazy. I mean, I had one. I had several. I rode Kawasaki's. I had a Honda. I had a Yamaha. And they were great. They were cheap. I mean, you could buy a motorcycle for $500 or $600. They were reliable. They were stylish. I mean, remember all the crazy colors they'd come in: turquoise, gold, green. I mean, they were beautiful machines. A lot of chrome on them and such. They were light compared to a Harley. I mean, what did Harley run, Randy? Like a big full dresser, 600-800 pounds, 1,000 pounds.
Oh yeah, every bit of that. And you're right. It was a totally different time, and so many of the guys that we rode with were chopping their bikes. Remember, they'd take an old 1950s Harley and totally remake it with extended front ends and a totally different, single tank and paint jobs. Wow, what works of art those bikes were.
They were. And what happened to all those? I mean, that'd be interesting. That'd be a whole other conversation. Where did all the
I've asked on the radio several times already, get that very question. Where are all those bikes? Because I don't see them show up at auction anywhere. I look at motorcycle auctions all the time. So were these bikes actually remodeled back into, were the motors taken back off of them and remade into restored vintage bikes? I don't know, but I don't see the choppers, as they used to call. Remember Chopper Palace?
The Lions, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And back in the day, our friends rode with the Chicago Outlaws, Hell's Henchmen. I mean, that was the neighborhood. But when you told me about this Japanese invasion of bikes, I was looking up some facts about Honda, and that a bike that I used to completely laugh at, when I was a teenager, I'd see somebody with a Honda step through, and I would just laugh and unfortunately make fun of this bike. But that step through, the Super Cub, started in 1958, and they have sold 100 million of those bikes.
That's 50cc engine. It's so reliable. I mean, you could push start that thing.
But one of the reasons we're talking about all these today is to let our listeners know how valuable these bikes have become and are still very, very collectible. So there's a lot of them in attics, or not attics, but garages and basements throughout the city. And these are the type of things people need to call us about.
Yeah, it's like we always talk about the generation collects what you remember, and maybe you couldn't afford a Honda or a Yamaha, or maybe you had one and you just want one now, just for nostalgia purposes.
What do you think, Mike, the value of some of these bikes are today?
Oh, it's all over the board, depending on the model and everything. But it's not unusual for these things to be bringing $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. Some of them. I mean, there were so many different models and such, but they are definitely collectible. I mean, we can't underestimate the importance of these things, because by the 1980s they so dominated the market. They put BMW, or not BMW, but Norton, Triumph, and I think our BSA out of business, and just about buried Harley too by the 1980s.
Yeah, so that's a fact.
They were huge. And one of the biggest things about it was they were the ones that had electric starts. None of the other bikes did. They all had the kick starts.
I was still kick-starting my old bike, but but then again, I had an old 1940 Harley from an old World War II bike that I used to ride around in the late 60s, early 70s, and thought I was a hot shot on that. But But, you mentioned value. I think we just got in a 71 Honda. I don't know if it's a 500cc or what style that was. But when we looked it up, I think we said that bike's going to go between $5,000 and $7,000. So it's no joke what some of this stuff is worth. And I'll tell you, it wasn't that long ago, Mike, I was running an ad in the newspaper, Old Bikes Wanted, and I was having people call me up and saying, hey, I've got a couple motorcycles in the garage. Would you just get them out of here? They didn't even want anything for these bikes. Now, that's what we're here to warn people about is you've got money in those bikes. Do not give them away. At least call us for an evaluation, and there's no obligation. We'll give you our opinions as to what some of these things are worth.
Yep, absolutely.
We would love to see some photos, too.
You remember Honda's tagline?
No.
No, what was it?
Meet the nicest people on a Honda. I remember that. That
really? That wasn't from their automobiles? That was the motorcycles?
That was the motorcycle. And I mean, and they were marketing to the college kids, to the young people, and they bought it hook, line, and sinker. I mean,
you brought up a good point, and that is advertising, Mike, and everything that goes along with motorcycles in advertising is really good money, big money. we're always advertising or promoting that we want porcelain signs, the old gas and oil signs, and the bigger the better and everything. But the plastic blown signs and everything from Hondas and Yamahas and everything, they still have tremendous value. So anything in advertising for motorcycles is going to bring money.
And not only the street bikes too, but some of the early Japanese dirt bikes, those bring big money too.
Good to know. Yeah. So, call us at 815-923-7000 or email us some photos at consign@donleyauctions.com. We would love to hear what kind of motorcycles you have, dirt bikes, even bicycles. We'd love to put them in our November Fall Classic auction. Give us a call.
We do have a nice lineup with motorcycles already for November.
I saw a 2003 Harley come in yesterday, that ultra classic. You guys are trying to move around. The thing's a beast.
It is. It's a
big
beautiful
bike. It's a beautiful big
beast,
bike.
However. That bike only has, 5,000 miles on it or something like that.
Yeah, that'll be up in our November auction as well.
It will. And so motorcycles we're still looking for. Automobiles we're still looking for. And you mentioned that...
An airplane.
We need an airplane. Call us with an airplane. But you mentioned 2003, so I do want to point out it doesn't have to be antique to be in this auction. I mean, good vintage or interesting pieces, we're always looking for.
That's right. And, Mike, if you don't mind joining us on our next segment, we got to hit the train segment of it. We're going to talk about antique and vintage trains coming up in our next segment. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Donley Auctions Hour every Saturday here on AM 560, The Answer. Hope to see you at the auction in November.
You're listening to the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Donley Auctions Hour here with Susan, Randy Donley, and Mike Donley. We're talking about planes, trains, automobiles, and motorcycles. We have not touched on trains yet. And Randy said, I think people are going to think we're looking for full-size trains. Well, yeah, why not? Why not? If we want an airplane, let's get a train in here, too.
When we talk about trains, it's primarily toy trains. However, we do have a lot of memorabilia, complete light sets or advertising off of full-size trains and train bells and all kinds
of steps and the lanterns and all kinds of great stuff.
There is a lot of memorabilia for full-size trains. We've never had a full-size locomotive here. However, we do have a big steam traction engine and steam engines that,
the one that sunk into the asphalt. It was how heavy was that thing?
30,000 pounds, ladies and gentlemen. Our forklift went right down into the asphalt the minute we picked it up, but we did get it inside.
It's beautiful. It's restored. It's a beautiful piece.
Going to be for sale in November.
Yeah. Perfect for your living room.
Mike, we're going to talk about toy trains in a minute, but amusement park trains. We've had so many of them over the years, and of course, we've still got the train from the Wild West town, which was the C.P. Huntington.
From Brookfield Zoo originally.
It was from Brookfield. It was the first train that Brookfield Zoo ever had.
Yeah.
And then it went where? To the Wagon Wheel Resort, and then from the Wagon Wheel Resort to Donley's Wild West town. What's the situation with that train? Right now, we're hanging on to it, but
it could be offered for sale sometime in the future. I mean,
well, we know Larry Donley's still tinkering with it.
Yeah,
keeping him busy and out of trouble.
Yeah, he's keeping it looking beautiful. It's all shiny. Right. We got the engine in the warehouse. It's not outside, so it's in safe storage. So.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have anything in amusement park trains. This is the place to sell them, and that's Donley Auctions. We will pick them up, these amusement park trains. And it's surprising how many amusement park trains we do find in the Chicago area. It wasn't long ago that we were in a garage, and the guy had like 6 engines in there, and it's like unbelievable that the stuff people collect.
Well, not just trains. You're also looking for carousel rides, amusement park rides, not just trains, but carousel rides as well.
Because of the trains, I instantly think of Riverview Park. We talked about Donley's Wild West, but Riverview is where Mike and I went as kids. That park opened in about 1904.
It operated from 1904 to 1967. It was open for 65 years.
And of course, they had a train around the park. I think it was a real live steam train. Mm-hmm. But Mike, what was your favorite ride at Riverview?
I would have to say Aladdin's Castle. That was my favorite there.
Okay.
The fun house.
Yeah.
Randy was telling me a story about one of the rides you went on that petrified you.
Oh, I hated the parachute ride. My God.
It was pretty scary.
You talk about a ride that probably would never meet the safety standards of a ride today. I mean, this was
a little board and strapped onto it, and actually, those parachute towers were left over from World War II. That's what they trained parachute jumpers with. They would hoist them up and then release them and let them free fall, and the chute would fill up. And that's how they trained parachute jumpers.
And that's what I was telling Susan is when you got to the top and they dropped you, you were literally in free fall because the parachute wasn't inflated yet. So it had to catch air, but before you actually, then would come down smoothly. I was always afraid I'd fall out of that chair. It just was such a little, like you said, it was a board you sat on with a strap across your back. Oh my God.
That was it. Yeah.
Craziness.
Well,
so
there were 16 people died at that park over the years.
Really?
Most of them were from roller coasters and just people doing stupid stuff, I'm sure. But
and Mike,
I don't know if it was on the parachute ride or not.
Mike, what was the roller coaster you owned off of Riverview Park? What was it? The Comet?
That was the Flash.
Oh, the Flash. Okay, yeah.
After the park, not during the park. But
no. After the park was salvaged. I think the only ride that has been that remained in use after the park closed in the 1960s was the big carousel. I think went to one of the Six Flags amusement parks.
Well, remember they opened up Adventureland out in where was it? Out on Lake Street, in the Addison or somewhere like that.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the rides went out there.
Oh,
and
okay.
That was the first park really that pioneered one admission, all rides are free.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Huh.
Here's a little trivia for you. In 1972, Bally, the manufacturing corporation, had an inspiration from that funhouse, Mike, that you talked about, Aladdin's Castle. They have a pinball machine.
The Fireball.
Well, they have that too, but the Aladdin's Castle pinball machine was inspired by the funhouse at Riverview Park. So let's see if we can find one of those for our November auction.
Okay,
Who's got some
ladies
pinball
and gentlemen,
machines?
call us.
There's your challenge. Give us a call at 815-923-7000. We will talk about antique and vintage toys in our next segment.
Mike, we need you to come back for one more.
Yeah,
okay?
we're not done yet talking about planes, trains, and automobiles here on the Donley Auctions Hour every Saturday at 1 o'clock on AM 560. The Answer. Don't go anywhere, folks.
And now, more of the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to the Donley Auctions Hour. Of course, we have interesting stories. That's how come we can never finish on topic here.
Well, I'm sorry. We got off on a tangent.
That's
Riverview
okay.
Park. We mentioned trains, and we ended up with Riverview. But, I want to talk just a little bit more about Riverview.
We're never going to get to the trains.
Because Riverview kind of is it just has everything that we collect here at Donley Auctions. Mm-hmm. Riverview has, arcade machines, signage, carousel horses, anything and everything that Riverview would have had, ladies and gentlemen, that you might have today is what we're looking for Donley Auctions.
Didn't you say they had a whole arcade full of mutoscopes and things like that too there?
Absolutely. They had a great arcade. Mm-hmm. Remember that park was built, so early in 1904 that by the 1920s, all that state-of-the-art great arcade equipment was there. And then by the 1960s, they hadn't updated any of that yet. It was still all that old antique arcade equipment. Do you remember their arcade there, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was great. The whole park was just fantastic.
Yeah. what a time capsule.
I'm walking through it right now. I'm just my mind's just going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, that's for sure.
Nostalgia.
So, at any rate,
I just want to touch base real quick because we talk about things that come through the door all the time because our listeners are actually calling and emailing us with their collections. And one of the collections we had come in were antique toy trains.
Toy trains.
Are they models, right? Are they models or toys?
No,
there's
they're
a difference.
toy trains.
They're toy trains.
Actually, we have both.
There
are some models, but mainly toy trains.
We just want to educate our listeners a little bit about the type of items that they might have that could be of value at auction. And, of course, the top three most popular brands are the American Flyer, Lionel, and Marks.
And that surprised me because I never thought of Marks as being a high-priced toy or even that
just popular
desirable.
Is what it says.
But
I don't know.
I do.
Yeah, they were. Go ahead.
No, you.
No, they were definitely the lower price of the three.
Right.
You know, that was the affordable one with the cheap tin stamped or tin litho stamped cars and stuff. But
right, and they can go anywhere from $20 to $2,000 on some of these train sets.
You know, when I think of high-priced trains, I always think of Markland. But Susan,
Brothers,
what were you telling me today about?
One of the most expensive train sets that ever sold was the Lionel Standard set. It was mint in box, though, sold for $250,000.
So there again is your challenge, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
call us with a $250,000 train set.
There you go. Well, what you want to look for?
Was it the blue? Was it the blue streak or something like that? Or
I don't know.
It didn't say exactly what it said. Lionel Standard set.
So
we'll see. But what you want to look for, though, on your trains is the manufacturer's markings, of course. The original packaging is important. You want to check the train gauge, whether any tracks included, because those were produced after 1881. So you want to see if there's any tracks. Talk to an expert, of course. You can always talk to someone here at Donley Auctions.
Yep. And we've got experts that can really help you in the right direction with your train sets.
And, of course, the condition is very important.
Well, you know, you mentioned mint in box. Susan, boxed is always the best because there are so many trains out there. Everybody saved their trains, and there's boxes and boxes and boxes of. So truly, condition is everything. What sells for any money is, of course, new old stock, NOS, new old stock, and or mint in box.
That's right. And one little bit of information I learned about toy trains, because being in a family with sisters, we did not play with trains. I know nothing about toy trains. We played with Barbies, that's for sure. But the trains came out before the locomotive was even produced in 1784. And the model trains were used as representations of what a full-size train could actually look like. So they used them as guides during the initial production of trains and the entire railway system. That's how they came about.
Wow.
Interesting stuff, huh?
What's your thoughts on trains, Mike? What would you tell our listeners to look for?
Size, yeah. You know, the newer stuff, you know, the HO and the N gauge, it's collectible. But if you're looking for the money, you got to go back to the early stuff, the standard size, the big, huge trains. And one other manufacturer that many people don't think about when they think of trains is the Buddy L Garden Railway.
Yeah.
Good one, yeah.
That's probably the biggest train out there.
Yeah, the kids could actually sit on it, outdoor garden railway, the Buddy L.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of toy trains, model trains, and antique toys in general for our November auction. We're going to do, an entire day on antique and vintage toys.
So call us if you have toys of any kind. I mean, whether they're...
I like the wind-up kind.
Wind-ups
toys
are always collectible, absolutely. Yeah. But whether it be toys, trains, planes, automobiles, I mean, any type of toys we're looking for. And right on into the 50s and 60s toys.
I was going to say, some of that stuff is pretty vintage from like the 70s. That we have, too. So you think that's going to sell well, huh?
Oh, my God, yes. Because we keep saying it's what people remember. And some of the real old stuff is getting too old. So don't discount any of the stuff from the 70s by any means.
That's right. And you know who was a famous train enthusiast collector? Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra built a special building onto his house for his 1949 train station layout. Just like your dad did, huh?
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming on today. We're going to...
pleasure as always, yeah.
Yes, thanks.
We've got
good information.
one more segment, but we'll be telling our listeners
don't go anywhere,
how
folks.
to consign.
Well, I want to talk about the auction this weekend again and upcoming auctions. So stay tuned with your pen in hand so you can write down our phone number and our website. But you're listening to the Donley Auctions Hour here every Saturday at 1 o'clock with Susan and Randy and all of our interesting stories. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're not done yet. You're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
The Donley Auctions Hour continues now on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Donley Auctions Hour. Just wanted to touch base real quick. We do have an auction going on right now as we speak in Union, Illinois. We're just 60 miles west of Chicago. Hop on I-90. Come on out. We'll have donuts, coffee, pizza, beer, and wine. All complimentary. That's a good reason to come out.
Susan, we're always promoting on our show what we're looking for auctions. And sometimes it's easy to forget that our listeners are also buyers.
That's right.
They come to our auctions. And so I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, that we don't talk more about how you can buy from us or acquire through auctions. We're always promoting what we want.
Many options. For example, like today is our firearms, ammunition, and gun accessories auction. It started at 10 a.m., but we have 800 lots. We're going to be there all day. We have over 500 firearms. All you need to do is come out to the auction, to Union, show us your FOID card and your driver's license. There's no admission, and you come on in. There's a buyer's premium, but it's less expensive to come out to the auction than it would be to bid online. However, if you don't want to drive out, you can bid online. Go to DonleyAuctions.com, and there is a button there that says firearms or military. You click on that, and it takes us to our very own bidding platform on DonleyAuctions.com. Now, there, the bidding... the buyer premium is a little bit higher because you're paying for the convenience of bidding online and not having to drive out by us, right?
Sure.
So you could do that. What I also recommend is give us a call at 815-923-7000 to submit an absentee bid. And all that means is that you can give us your lot numbers and tell us what your maximum bid is, and we will bid up to that amount.
And that saves the online fee.
That's right. Saves you the online fee.
So look at our auctions online. See what you want to bid on, and then call us with your bids, and we can place the bids for you. You
know, and some of these higher-end items, anything that's valued over $500, I'd be happy to do a phone bid for you. So I would just be on the phone with you, bidding on your behalf. Yep. Every time you say you want to get in on a bid. Again, you call us at 815-923-7000. I'll be happy to submit that to our auctioneer as well.
Tomorrow's auction is our military relics. There's all kinds of great items.
Where do you begin? I mean, these two items right here we've talked about already, the flag and the sidecar.
We've got a replica. It's an operating replica. It's a motorcycle that's made to look like a German World War II motorcycle. It has a sidecar, a good running vehicle if you want to use this for reenacting. I mean, we've got items from the Civil War period. We've got
World War I, World War II, Vietnam, American, German, Japanese, you name it, we have it. The good news is we have so much stuff that we have to do another military and firearms auction in December.
So it's not too early to call us to consign.
What's the number? 815-923-7000. We would love to hear what kind of military items you have. You know why? Because we have some military experts on staff with us who can answer all of your questions. So what your options are, come out to the auction, go online, put an absentee bid in, put a phone bid in.
Yep.
Right? And all you need is a driver's license and a FOID card if you want to handle the guns. But other than that, we try to keep it very simple. And if you do have any questions, a lot of people have never bid before, and they're just confused sometimes about the process. Well, we try to keep it very simple. There's no hidden fees, and we'll walk you through it. We have great staff in the office who are very patient and will answer all of your questions.
And both of us are there. We'd like to meet you.
Yeah, come on out and meet us. Mm-hmm. That's right. This weekend. And then don't forget about the November auction. So go check us out at DonleyAuctions.com. You're listening to us on AM 560 every Saturday, but for now, I'm Susan.
And I'm Randy Donley, and we'll see you at the auction.
Thanks for listening to the Donley Auctions Hour on AM 560, The Answer. Check out all the latest information on upcoming auctions and collectibles at DonleyAuctions.com. And while you're there, you can contact someone about buying or selling your collectibles or estates. That's DonleyAuctions.com.